Right now, millions of babies are falling asleep to the same sound, a soft, steady hiss, white noise, and their parents think they're doing something good, something calming, something safe. But what if that sound is quietly rewiring your child's brain? Not in a scary way, not obviously, but slowly, in ways that may not show up for years. White noise has become one of the most popular sleep tools for babies in the last decade. Walk into any nursery, and there it is. A little machine humming in the corner, filling the room with static. Parents swear by it. Pediatricians recommend it. It's on every must-have baby gear list you've ever seen. But here's something almost no one is talking about. The developing brain, and I mean a newborn's brain specifically, is not just passively resting when it sleeps. It is actively building itself, sorting experiences, wiring connections, deciding which sounds matter and which ones don't. And flooding that process with artificial, unvarying noise? That may not be harmless background sound. It may be interference. Now, the common belief is simple. White noise masks disruptive sounds. It creates a consistent audio environment. It mimics the sound of the womb. And because of that, it helps babies sleep longer and cry less. All of that is true. White noise does those things. That part isn't wrong. But what we've been missing, what the research has only recently started to uncover, is what happens underneath. What happens to the auditory cortex, to the attention system, to the brain's ability to filter, focus, and learn. Because the womb isn't actually quiet, but it's also not a flat, unvarying wall of static. It's dynamic, it pulses, it changes, it has pattern. White noise machines don't replicate that, they flatten it. And that difference turns out to matter a great deal. In 2014, researchers at the University of California, San Francisco, conducted a study that quietly shook the neuroscience world. They exposed young rats, whose brains are structurally similar to human infant brains during early development, to continuous white noise during the critical period of auditory brain development. What they found surprised everyone. The rat's auditory cortex failed to develop normally. The neural maps responsible for processing distinct sounds became blurred, compressed, disorganized. The brain couldn't properly distinguish between different tones, different patterns, different signals. In other words, the brain was trying to learn to hear, and the white noise made it unable to learn anything at all. Later studies at MIT and the University of Oregon began exploring whether this translated to human attention systems. What they found pointed to something even more unsettling. Continuous, non-pattern noise during critical developmental windows appeared to be linked to early markers of attention dysregulation, the same underlying mechanism found in children diagnosed with ADHD. The auditory cortex and the prefrontal cortex, the brain's attention command center, develop together. Disrupt one during a critical window, and you may be disrupting both. Here is what this actually means. Your baby's brain is doing something extraordinary during sleep. It's replaying the day's experiences. It's reinforcing the pathways that allow it to pay attention, to filter out irrelevant stimulation, to focus on what matters. That process requires contrast. It requires signal variation. It requires the brain to actually work, to distinguish between meaningful sounds and background noise. But if you fill the entire sleep environment with the same flat, structureless sound every night for months, you may be training the brain to stop doing that work entirely. You're not soothing your baby's nervous system into rest. You may be teaching it that nothing is worth paying attention to. But here's where it gets even stranger. Because this doesn't just affect babies. Experiment/story section. In a fascinating experiment run by cognitive neuroscientists in Amsterdam, adult participants were asked to perform attention-based tasks after sleeping in 3 different environments: silence, varying ambient sound, and continuous white noise. The white noise group slept the longest. They reported feeling the most rested, but their attention scores the next morning were significantly lower than both other groups. Their brains were slower to lock onto targets. They were worse at filtering distractions. They were less sharp, despite feeling fine. One of the researchers described it like this: the brain learns from the environment it sleeps in. If the environment gives it nothing to work with, it learns to work less. They called it auditory learned passivity. The brain stops reaching for signal. It stops listening. It settles into a kind of deep, smooth, effortless nothing. Now imagine that happening to a brain that is only 3 months old, that has never known anything different, that is building its entire attentional architecture from scratch. If you've been using white noise for your baby, or if you used it and your child is older now, I'm not here to alarm you. One machine doesn't determine a destiny. The brain is resilient. It is plastic. It adapts. But I want you to sit with this for a moment, because this is not just about sleep. This is about what we surround our children with in their most vulnerable hours. The hours when they can't tell us what they're experiencing. The hours when their brains are doing the deepest, most invisible work of their entire lives. You are not just choosing a sleep aid. You are choosing an environment for a developing mind. And that choice matters more than most of us ever knew. And the deeper you pull this thread, the larger it gets. Because white noise isn't the only thing doing this. Screens, constant background television, ambient music on repeat. We have quietly built a world that is saturated with low-grade, unvarying, patternless stimulation, and we have surrounded our children with it from the very first days of their lives. ADHD diagnoses have increased by over 40% in the last 2 decades. Attention spans are measurably shorter. Children are struggling with focus at younger and younger ages. We keep looking for a single cause. But what if it's the environment? What if the problem isn't in the child, but in the silence we forgot to give them? Warning/important insight. The American Academy of Pediatrics has already issued cautionary guidance on white noise machine volume, recommending they be kept below 50 decibels and placed far from the crib, not because of hearing damage, because of developmental impact. But volume isn't the only variable. Duration is. Consistency is. The absence of natural variation is. If you still use white noise, consider this. Use it to transition your baby to sleep, then turn it off. Use nature sounds with variation, rain, wind, the sea, rather than synthetic static. Give the sleeping brain something to gently navigate, even in rest. Don't give it a wall, give it a landscape. Powerful ending. Every night, a baby lies in a darkened room, eyes closed, chest rising and falling, completely still, and the world hums around them. Machines, screens, traffic, static. They can't ask for quiet. They can't ask for variation. They can't tell you that their brain is reaching for something and finding nothing. But now you know. The most powerful thing you can give a developing mind isn't white noise. It's the texture of the real world, even in sleep. Because silence isn't empty. It is full of everything the brain needs to learn how to listen. So here's what I want to leave you with. What else are we doing every single day with the best intentions that might be quietly shaping our children's brains in ways we can't see yet? Because the research on white noise is just the beginning. There's something far more invisible happening during those early years. Something that affects every single one of us, not just babies. And that story, that's the next video. If this made you think, share it with someone who needs to hear it. And if you want to go deeper, subscribe, because we're only just getting started.